And Atlas, who knows all the depths of the pillars of the firmament, stands at the ends of the earth, holding up the wide sky with his head and his tireless hands. Hesiod. Greetings, mortals, and a capital day to you all. Glad you could show up. I am your host, Simeon, and the North Star has guided you into a place some people call the Library of Gnosis. Welcome, Seeker. In Greek mythology, Heracles journeys to the land of the Hyperboreans on his 11th labor, when he sets out to retrieve the golden apples of the Hesperides, after years of impossible labors. King Eurystheus commanded Heracles to bring back the golden apples from the garden of the Hesperides, a paradise at the edge of the world, where the daughters of Atlas tend to a tree bearing shining golden fruit. Gift from Gaia to Hera on her wedding day. But there was a problem. The garden was guarded by Ladon, a sleepless dragon with 100 heads, and no mortal knew where the garden was located. Heracles is traveling the cosmic boundary, the liminal edge where the mortal world gives way to the divine. This is the same frontier where another figure stands guard. Atlas, the Titan condemned to hold up the sky upon his shoulders as punishment after the war of the Titans against Zeus. Heracles realized that Atlas was the father of the Hesperides, and that he might know where the garden is. So he offers Atlas a deal. If you will fetch the golden apples for me, I will hold up the heavens in your place while you do. Atlas, tired of his eternal burden, agreed eagerly. Heracles then took the celestial weight upon his shoulders, becoming, for a brief time, the one who bore the heavens. Atlas journeyed to the garden, killed the dragon Ladon, and retrieved the golden apples. But when he returned, Atlas decided he did not want to take back his burden. He told Heracles, "I will deliver the apples myself to Eurystheus. You may remain here, holding the heavens." Heracles, realizing Atlas meant to leave him trapped forever, feigned agreement. He said, "That's fine, but could you hold up the sky for just a moment so I can adjust the padding on my shoulders?" Atlas set down the apples and took on the weight of the sky once more. And Heracles swiftly picked up the apples and walked away, leaving the Titan in his eternal position. This myth carries deep symbolic meaning. Atlas represents the cosmic principle of endurance and the burden of the material world. Heracles represents the heroic soul, who through wit and strength transcends the limits of the world and achieves divine reward. The golden apples symbolize immortality enlightenment, or divine wisdom. Treasures that can only be won through trial and cunning. Atlas, the titan condemned to hold up the sky after the Titanomachy, isn't just bearing a physical weight. His task is cosmic. He prevents heaven and earth from collapsing into each other. In mythic symbolism, this makes him a living embodiment of the axis mundi, the vertical pillar that connects and stabilizes the entire cosmos. Ancient art often shows Atlas at the world's edge in the west, where the sun sets and the earthly and celestial realms meet. Even the words Atlantis and Atlas Mountains preserve the idea of Atlas as the cosmic supporter, the being who holds order against chaos. The axis mundi itself is a universal pattern found across cultures. Yggdrasil in Norse myth, Mount Meru in Hindu cosmology, the Christian cross as the bridge between heaven and earth, and the shamanic or hermetic image of the spine, or Kundalini channel as the microcosmic world axis. It marks the center of the world, and the point where communication between the divine and mortal realms is possible. All things that are suspended from above and depend on what is above them. Nothing exists without a cause, and the cause descends from the highest down through all things. Corpus Hermeticum. If the axis mundi is the principle, Atlas is its personification. He is the titan who embodies the world pillar. His punishment reflects the burden of cosmic awareness. To hold up the sky is to sustain the structure of reality itself. In Hermetic terms, Atlas becomes a symbol of the initiated soul that can bear the tension of opposites, the spiritual and material worlds, without letting them collapse. He is the consciousness that keeps the cosmos balanced. This symbolism even survives in anatomy. The first cervical vertebrae is called Atlas because it supports the skull, the heavens. Beneath it lies the axis vertebrae, which allows the head to turn. Together they form a perfect microcosmic reflection of the myth. Atlas supports the heavens, and the axis provides the pivot of the world. Man is a little world, a microcosm, containing in himself all things that exist in the universe. Macrobius. Heracles came upon the pirates as they were taking their meal on a certain strand, and learning from the maidens what had taken place, he slew the pirates to a man and brought the girls back to Atlas, their father. And in return, Atlas was so grateful to Heracles for his kindly deed that he not only gladly gave him such assistance as his labor called for, but he also instructed him quite freely in the knowledge of astrology. For Atlas had worked out the science of astrology to a degree surpassing others, had ingeniously discovered the spherical nature of the stars, and for that reason was generally believed to be bearing the entire firmament upon his shoulders. Similarly, in the case of Heracles, when he had brought to the Greeks the doctrine of the sphere, he gained great fame, as if he had taken over the burden of the firmament which Atlas had borne, since men intimated in this enigmatic way what had actually taken place. Diodorus Siculus. Hyperborea literally means beyond the north wind. It is not merely a geographical place, but a metaphysical pole, representing the axis mundi, or the spiritual center around which the cosmos is ordered. Traditionally, the North Star, Polaris, is seen as a symbol of constancy, guidance, and fixedness in a universe of change. It serves as a point of reference, much like it does in navigation. This symbolism is often spiritual, representing a steadfast, guiding light. In the mythology of the far north, we find Odin, a figure who, like Atlas, is bound to the idea of the cosmic axis. Odin went by many names throughout history, and Wotan was one of them. This connection becomes even more interesting when we remember that Wednesday, Wotan's Day, was identified by the Romans as Dies Mercurii, the Day of Mercury. The Romans associated Odin or Wotan with Mercury because both were seen as wandering, boundary-crossing gods who moved between realms and brought hidden knowledge to mankind. The Christian cross can also be understood as an axis mundi, a vertical link between the human world and the divine order. Thus, the reference to Christ's elevation on the cross signifies a chemical process of volatilization in which the prepared mercury is raised up by means of heat from the bottom of the flask into the head of the alembic, the highest part of the heating vessel, where the purified material condenses as a crystalline sublimate. The Son of Man must ascend from the earth into the air and ascend upon the cross of the alembic like a crystal. Lawrence Principe. In Norse cosmology, this axis is Yggdrasil, the world tree that binds together the 9 realms of existence. Odin's relationship to the tree reveals his role as the mediator between worlds. His voluntary hanging upon Yggdrasil for 9 nights, pierced by his own spear, is one of the clearest expressions of this role. Through this act, he gains the knowledge of the runes, sacrificing himself to himself in order to seize divine wisdom. It is a moment that reveals the god not simply as a warrior or a ruler, but as a seeker who crosses the threshold between the mortal and the divine. To Julius Evola, Hyperborean was a state of being. The pure type of man whose consciousness was oriented upward toward the transcendent pole. The journey to reclaim the polar center within oneself, to re-establish contact with the transcendent source. This is a metaphor for the restoration of the Hyperborean axis, the rebirth of the solar, transcendent principle in the world. The seeker must reawaken the polar flame within, his own inner axis, the center of the world within. Yggdrasil itself is the living backbone of the cosmos. Its branches reach into the realms of the gods. Its trunk stands within the world of men, and its roots descend into the land of the giants and the dead. It connects Asgard, Midgard, and Hel, binding the 9 worlds into a single coherent whole. Odin's throne, Lidskjalf, from which he sees all things, reinforces his position as the keeper of this cosmic order. The Axis Mundi motif appears universally across all cultures. Some traditions use a mountain, others a sacred pillar or temple, and still others conceive it as a tree, or a ladder of ascent, as in Jacob's ladder. In the Norse world, this principle finds its clearest expression in Yggdrasil, and Odin stands as its divine interpreter. Together they form a vision of a universe held in delicate balance, where all realms are joined through a single living axis, and where wisdom is gained only through trial, sacrifice, and the willingness to approach the boundary between worlds. In myth and symbol, the tree signifies the growth of life from earth to heaven. It unites the world below with the world above, forming a living bridge between the two. Carl Jung. Our journey now approaches its end. If you made it all the way here, then please write Polar Flame in the comments below, so I know you did. If you learned something, then please share the video. Give it a like too. And if you feel like supporting me monetarily, then please check out my Patreon, buy some cool merch, Also, become a YouTube channel members. I have been trying to get better at releasing my videos early for the patrons, so it might be worth your time to check out the my Patreon. Anyways, I've got nothing more, so I will catch you mortals in the next one. Fare thee well, traveler.